Hi, everybody. Ron Placone here. So the Supreme Court is reviewing a case or hearing a case on whether to uphold the ban on same-sex marriage in 4 different states. Those states are Ohio, Michigan, Kentucky, and Tennessee. They're going to be ruling on whether or not these states have the power to ban same-sex marriage. Now, they're expected to give an answer within about 2 months. Now, depending on what this answer is, this could be a huge step for having same-sex marriage recognized federally. Right now, it's in 36 states. So it is getting there, but there's still some states that have left to still aren't there yet, including my state of residence, Tennessee. We are not there yet. So this could be a huge step, and the different justices are divided on this, and a lot of the kind of arguments are very very cliched and very much kind of the same rambling rhetoric that we've been seeing. And so what I think this really says, what this ruling will say, it will say, does the Supreme Court of the United States serve their own special interests, or do they serve the popular opinion of the people of the United States? Because poll after poll after poll, for the most part, indicates that the majority of Americans, even on the right, are either completely in favor of same-sex marriage or just kind of say, you know, as long as it doesn't infringe on anyone else, whatever. It's either greeted with kind of, I understand it and I get it that gay people should have the right to marry too, or it's like, hey, this is, everyone should have the right to marry regardless of their sexual orientation, and this is totally archaic and ridiculous that we're not further evolved on this issue. Are there still some fringe groups? Are there still some super fundamentalist groups out there that are opposed to same-sex marriage? Of course there are, but they're dwindling in numbers, and at this point are not really all that reflexive of popular opinion or of the majority of people. Yet, when it comes to the makeup of the Supreme Court, that is not very reflexive within the Supreme Court itself. The Supreme Court, on the other hand, is very much still divided and sharply divided. And a lot of these arguments are just very kind of cliche, and they're similar to the arguments you would see in the early 2000s. One of the things being brought up is how we've had marriage between a man and a woman for millennia, and only as of 2000 did anyone say anything. You know, this whole, the quote, sanctity of marriage argument. Look, where were these people complaining when it was decided you could get married by an Elvis impersonator in Vegas? And let's talk about the tradition. You know, there were times where marriages were arranged, where marriages were forced upon people, where marriages were done for family reasons and nothing else. Okay, if you want to talk about the history of marriage, it's not always a totally bright history. It's not like it's some completely sacred thing necessarily all the time that we have to recognize for tradition's sake. What makes marriage great is the love between two consenting people. That's what makes a marriage great or not great. And as long as there's that love between those people, it doesn't matter if it's a same-sex couple or a heterosexual couple or whatever the situation may be. And I wish people would kind of come around to that. Justice Scalia asked whether ministers would be able to refuse to marry two gay men. And quite frankly, that's, again, we have the separation of church and state, supposedly, in the United States. And of course, that's exercised usually when it's convenient. You know, you have religious liberty, except for when it comes to trying to impose your religious beliefs on everybody else, then it's okay. So quite frankly, there is no church that would be forced to do a same-sex ceremony if they didn't want to. I do not think that would happen. I don't think anything close to that would happen. And I think this is just complete and utter fair-mongering and nonsense. And coming from Justice Scalia, that should be expected. Justice Alito asked, well, then why not marry 4 gay men together? Why just 2? Justice Alito apparently is practicing from the Rick Santorum School of Bigotry, and those comments should not even be given any lip service, nor should they be uttered by a person in any position of power. Yet, sadly, in our world, they're uttered by somebody who is sitting on the Supreme Court. So I think the bigger question here is, who does the Supreme Court serve? Does the Supreme Court actually serve the populace? Are they at all reflexive of the populace? Or do they serve a small fringe contingent that maybe has some very, very deep pockets. Comments like what Justice Alito is saying, comments like what Justice Scalia is saying, these are all comments and ideas and thoughts that are representative of a very, very small and dwindling group of people. This is not reflexive of the general person. This is not reflexive of somebody on, certainly not somebody on the left or even somebody on the right at this point. When it comes to same-sex marriage, most people are either completely in favor, that they're completely liberal or whatever on that social issue, or they're more on the libertarian, hey, live and let live. It's not something to be involved with. There's more important things going on. And it's really 36 states. I mean, that's a big number right there. 36 out of 50. Clearly, popular opinion is heavily leaning in favor of same-sex marriage, yet you do not see that represented by the Supreme Court of the United States. The Supreme Court is pretty much completely divided, and it seems like there is a lot of homophobia, a lot of bigotry, and a lot of just very archaic rhetoric going on in this divided group. So it's not really reflexive of a populace, which isn't a good sign coming from the Supreme Court. Yet this is what we have. So I think this ruling, once it's given in they're saying 2 months, it's really going to say once and for all how relevant in terms of popular opinion this Supreme Court actually is. Do they actually represent the populace, or are they just representing special fringe interests? In some ways, this is a rhetorical question, but dare to dream that the people might actually be loud enough this time. I guess we'll see what happens. This is Ron Placone signing out.